Hey everyone, welcome to the systems review of the Macro Plumbing Guide. I'll be your lead engineer today as we evaluate the hydraulic flow model of the economy. I absolutely love doing this explainer because honestly, looking at macroeconomics like a giant water tank simulator is literally the best way to grasp how these mechanics actually work. Let's just dive right in, shall we? All right, first up, let's establish our baseline pipe loop. What we have here is the fundamental circular flow of income between households and firms. Imagine water, or capital in our case, flowing constantly through these pipes. If we assume a perfectly closed system with zero pressure changes, households provide factor services to firms, the firms pay the households then spend that money buying goods, and the loop just keeps going and going. But as we know, real-world systems are never perfectly closed. There are always variables. So, to operate this simulator correctly, we've got to establish our core mechanical rules. And our very first rule involves saving. That's simply the portion of income not spent by households on consumer goods. In our plumbing model here, think of saving as your baseline withdrawal from the tank. It's essentially water dripping out of the main pipe and getting stored in a little side reservoir. So it represents a direct leakage of expenditure straight out of that continuous circular flow. Now, to counter that leakage, we have investment. We define this as expenditure on physical producer goods. Think plants, machinery, the heavy stuff that helps produce other goods. In our hydraulic model, investment acts as the primary pump, injecting volume right back into our system. Picture it like this. You've got water leaving the main loop through saving, but then water being actively pumped back in through investment. It's all about managing that flow. Okay, let's run a quick system diagnostic. We're going to compare our leakage valves against our injection nozzles. This right here is the fundamental battle happening inside our tank. On one side, you have leakages bleeding pressure out of the system by withdrawing money. On the flip side, injections are blasting pressure back in by adding capital. The entire health of our economy basically depends on finding equilibrium between these two opposing forces. Let's look at the strict engineering manual specs for a second. A withdrawal or a leakage is the amount of money physically removed from the flow of income, which means it is completely unavailable for expenditure. This brilliantly illustrates why it actually matters. A leakage yanks capital right out of the stream. It renders those funds totally unavailable, which drops the overall system flow. If you open up way too many leakage valves, well, your economic water tank is going to drain completely dry. Going down our diagnostic checklist, we can identify three very specific leakage valves. We've got savings, represented by S, taxes, which is T, and imports, represented by M. Every single time you save money, pay taxes to the government, or buy some goods from overseas, you are essentially turning a valve that pulls water out of our domestic circular flow. Each one of these is a distinct withdrawal that reduces the total flow of income. So moving to the other side of the tank, how exactly do we refill this system? Well, an injection operates as a strict exogenous addition. And by exogenous, I mean it's external volume, new water pumped directly into the income flow of firms or households from entirely outside that standard consumer spending loop. This is the exact mechanism that builds up our systemic pressure. And to boost that system pressure and expand the total flow, we use three super powerful injection nozzles. We have investment expenditure, or I, government expenditure, G, and exports, which is X. Think about it. When firms buy new factory machinery, or when the government spends tax revenue on infrastructure, or even when foreign countries buy our exports, these act as massive, heavy-duty pumps, injecting fresh income straight into our system. As you get ready to calibrate the simulator yourself, I want you to really think about this. How does adjusting these precise leakage valves and injection nozzles dictate the survival of this entire economic machine? Because every tiny tweak you make changes the water level. Find the right equilibrium, and your system thrives. But here is the real challenge. What happens when a government keeps its injection pumps running on absolute overdrive while clamping down tight on leakages? Do we get infinite growth, or does the tank eventually burst? Keep this hydraulic model in mind the next time you're reading the economic news. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.